nano water, what are you doing that's different and similar? And what does it have to do with clustering? Give us the context for this so we understand you.
Well, and here's my view of water. Water basically evaporates from the earth, evaporates from oceans, streams, and it basically, in order to evaporate, my opinion is that it must be of a small particle size to accomplish that. And as it does evaporate, forms clouds and drops as rain and snow, it is in a nanoparticle form. And nano is a measurement of size. And as this nano water fills our lakes and our streams, we were designed to be drinking that water. Mother Nature had us living alongside the stream or the lake or whatever and consuming that water. And the nanoparticle is a very essential particle size, so it can enter into our cell and basically flush out our spent energy and also hydrate our cells. We are an electrical system. We need to be hydrated so that we have the best conductivity we can have for this system to work. As we dry out, we become less conductive, and the electrical capability of the function of the body becomes less and less efficient as we get older and drier. Now, in the case of water that has been now in a lake or a stream in its nanoparticle form, we put it into piping so very often and transport it to our taps under pressure to give us a much more convenient use and approach to receiving the water we need. Well, in the process of doing that transfer through piping and under pressure, we force the water to cluster into a micron particle size. A micron particle is 1,000 times larger than a nanoparticle. So consequently, the bulk of our water, by and large, the bulk of our water is all being under some form of pressurization in bottling or whatever, and the bulk of it is in a micron form. So we basically are drinking water that is too large to enter into our cells. So consequently, we get good outer cell hydration because the water doesn't have to be of a particular particle size to hydrate the outer shell, but the inner cell and entering into the cell must be of a smaller size than micron. So we get poor inner cell hydration, and many people drink a lot of water and still have that nagging thirst for more water. And so many people that have basically been introduced to our water, which is nano water, have found that they drink far less water and they're totally satisfied as to their thirst requirement. So there's lots of evidence from my perspective as to people basically consuming. My opinion is drinking a lot of water a day is not a healthy situation. You're draining a lot of minerals out of the body. You're basically producing a lot of heat, but you're also draining out of the body. And heat basically takes energy, so it basically isn't efficient to be drinking large quantities of water. Now, if you're out working, running a jackhammer in the sun on a black paved road, and then basically you're going to be perspiring and you're going to need to replace that fluid. And then, of course, more water is required. But in the basis of living in a controlled and operating in controlled environments like most of us do, a larger consumption of water is really beyond necessity if, in fact, is hydrating water. If you're not getting hydrated, then it doesn't matter if you drink 1 gallon or 8 gallons of water, you're still not getting hydrated. So the fact is that it's more important to understand that nano water is critically important to basically meet the hydration and the fluidity of the whole body so that it functions at a high level.
Dr. Batman G spent 30 years doing a study on water, and he wrote the book, Your Body's Many Prize for Water. Basically, most of us are dehydrated, and a lot of times when we're eating, we're really dehydrated, and as you get older, your sensory ability to detect your hydration is more muted. And so he gave a rule of thumb, which is that whatever you weigh divided by 2 is the number of liquid ounces of pure water you need in your system to stay hydrated. But that's with the water as it is, not necessarily going into the frequency and composition of the water, but water as a form of hydration or delivering our basic paradigm of hydration. What you're talking about is that we probably don't have to do that if we're delivering the water in a nano form. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can drink 2 glasses a day of nano water, which will penetrate your cells and give you the hydration, you are much better off than you are drinking 8 glasses a day of water that won't penetrate, because you're getting no hydration or very, very little hydration. And so the point being is that you don't need to drink a lot of water if it's effective at getting the job done that the body needs and getting into the cells and hydrating.
Lloyd, let's talk about the fact that there's now a lot of different technologies that are out on the market, like the Kagan and other types of technologies, to try to filter the water, bring the water to a high pH, and yet deliver it for maximum hydration. What do you think? I don't want to put any particular company down, but what do you think about some of them that are out there that are very expensive and say they are delivering a high pH? What do you think about the distinction between that and nano water? What is the real difference here?
Our basic water is prepared by some community water system. We draw on a community water system because they basically meet all the requirements of handling water, preparing it, and protecting it to our source. At the source where we're at and drawing on the community system, we remove all of the chlorine, all of the fluoride. We remove virtually everything from the water, which is done by the water system that we use. And then it goes into a tank where we basically energize it as we can control for all the minerals, all the vitamins, all the salts, all the sugars that the body needs, and it's all done in an energetic way. These things have all been turned iron isotope 57, which is an energetic form of iron that the body requires, is basically turned into a mathematical number. That mathematical number is basically in the water that we have as we use for our, call it a sample if you like. It's like making sourdough bread. You basically add in a piece of sourdough bread to activate the whole of the batch that you're preparing. And we do the same thing. We add in a batch of water into a measured, into a tank of water, if you want to refer to it that way, to a larger volume, and that sample of water over a period of time will energize the whole water.
Why? And how does it do that?
We then basically are able to potentiate that, and that's a sort of an in-house understanding on how to potentiate that water and get it up to a level of optimum strength, if you like, so that when you consume it, there's enough energy there to do you some good.
How do you accomplish that through your process, though? Is there a way to explain it, or is there mystery to it?
No, there isn't, and as a matter of fact, we teach people how to do it when they buy the water, and it's all done by intention. So we raise the intention, we raise and stabilize the potential, in the case of the water, to 35 to 40,000. It depends on what it is. If it's our cancer treatment water, we stabilize it at 40,000, which is a little stronger.
40,000 what?
40,000, we don't know. It's just a potential that we have established that works. And quite honestly, in the scientific world, I have no idea what that potential is. But it is measurable in a kinesiology way, or that you can basically measure it, that it is basically has energy. In other words, a person that can feel energy says, oh, wow, there's lots of energy here. So it's a measurable thing, but I don't have a scientific explanation for it if it's ever been named. And it perhaps has been. I'm just not familiar with what to call it. I know how to make these things work, and I don't necessarily know all that's happening in the function as we develop, other than the fact we are always able to ask, is it harmful to the human body? And we receive answers yes or no, and a lot of times, sometimes we can get the energy too high.
Right, that's what I was going to ask you next. You also ask, is this too much for the human body?
That's right. And you can also find that in some cases you have to tell people when they're starting on our water to be careful and don't take too much, because it can put you into a detox. It's all very well to detox, but it's not well to do it in an out-of-control fashion, so you want to be very careful starting out until the body's become used to the water, and then you're drinking